In a world of endless fandoms, one podcast dares to cover them all. Welcome to Between Two Batcaves, your go-to HQ for everything from comics to the screen and all the IP in between.
Join your hosts, Austin and Jordan, for weekly coverage of the comics, shows, and blockbuster hits that keep us coming back for more. So thanks for hanging with us and being part of the next entry into the Batcave saga.
All right, hello and thanks for hanging with us today on this episode of Between Two Batcaves. We are your hosts. I am Austin Luke and he is Jordan Brownstein. And today we are getting into the weeds of the Upside Down for our Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2 review. But before we can do that, if you like what we're doing over here on Between Two Batcaves, let us know. Whether this is your first or 39th episode with us, let us know what you think of the show. Few ways that you can do that. First, you can follow the pod to stay up to date with the latest from Jordan and I. We are on any podcast platform of your choice. Pick one where you want to listen to us and give us a follow. Next, leave a rating and a review on that podcast platform. Little 5-star rating, maybe a couple kind words, goes a long way. Lastly, share the pod. We are talking Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2 today, so if you're watching this show with somebody else who might not know about Between Two Batcaves, just do us a favor and do them a favor, and let them know about the pod. Follow us on the socials. We are on Insta, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky. All of our handles, except for Twitter, are at Between Two Batcaves with the number 2. On Twitter, we are B2 Batcaves with the number 2. We can also be reached at betweentwobatcaves@gmail.com. Not only can you listen to us, but you can watch us. We are on YouTube and Spotify video. If you want to watch us on YouTube, go over there and like and subscribe to the Between Two Batcaves YouTube channel. Go ahead and ring that bell to get notifications as well. And that is at youtube.com/@betweentwobatcaves. That's all the programming reminders I can think of. Jordan, before we get into what we got going on today, Merry Christmas. This is our first episode after Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas. I'm glad to hear
Happy
that you and yours have really enjoyed the holiday. From everything that I've seen, it seems like it was a very successful one over in the Luke household.
I learned this Christmas that my daughter knows the name of more Marvel characters than she does colors.
I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Nor do I. All I know is that she knows
what's important.
3 colors and 5 Marvel characters. So I think, I don't know what that says about me as a parent, but
like
I'm
gifted
pretty
and talented
sure it's
to
a
me.
good thing. Yeah.
Sounds like gifted and talented. She's skipping a grade.
So speaking of Christmas, y'all might notice here that Jordan and I have on matching hats. Some first versions of the Between Two Batcaves merch that might be available one day. I don't know. But our wives were kind enough to get us some Between Two Batcaves merch for
Not
Christmas
just hats
this year.
either. Not just hats.
Yeah.
Because
Sweatshirts.
we got sweatshirts.
Yeah.
With our faces on them.
With our logos on the back. Shout out Josh Brennan.
Shout out Josh Brennan. Shout out Madeline Kajawa. Shout out Emmy Boucher Luke. Or is it Luke Boucher? Or is it just Luke?
Well, Boucher is the middle name now.
Oh, okay. It's classy.
Yeah.
Emmy Boucher Luke. Well, shout out to all those people because I think it's really cool. I love this hat.
Yeah. We're rocking the new merch everywhere we go now. So, if we blow up because of the fact that we're wearing our sweatshirts around Trader Joe's and Costco, then shout out them.
Sorry, folks. Not publicly available yet. We got to scale. First.
So yeah, happy holidays all around to all of our listeners. Anybody watching, hope that you got to spend some good quality time with your family and loved ones this holiday season. And
hope you got to watch some Stranger Things.
Yeah, because we most certainly did. And we will be again pretty soon. Jordan, why don't you let everybody know what we're doing? And before you do that, move to your left. Yeah, now I can see your whole face.
All right. My beautiful face. Okay. So we are here today, as you probably could have guessed, to discuss Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2. Had the 3-episode drop on Christmas night, and we're going to be talking about all 3 episodes. That's what we're here for today. Oracle Report, I think, is going to be an interesting one because, as always, there's been a bunch of stuff that's happened. I don't know what you have picked out. I'm going to take this opportunity to just talk about a few movies that I have seen since we last talked and give some quick plugs because I don't know what else is going on in the world. I've been watching movies.
I got one news story, rumor, leak to talk about. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, so we'll get to that at the Oracle Report.
Perfect. So that's what we're doing today. We got the Oracle Report and Stranger Things, and we will be back in your ear holes and your eye holes soon to talk about the behemoth Stranger Things series finale, the 2-hour episode that's dropping on New Year's Eve. Austin, we will be watching that together, I believe. And
yes, from my Batcave.
From your Batcave, one Batcave to another. And I don't know what exactly our coverage is going to look like for that. I don't know if we're planning to record together on New Year's Eve or let it simmer a little bit and regroup after the fact, but we're going to be talking about it and you guys are going to be able to be a part of that. So
yes,
that's what we got coming down the pipe as we get into really this new year, 2026. It's going to be an exciting one and we're not slowing down anytime soon. With that said, I think it's time to get into the Oracle Report.
Yeah, let's fire up the Oracle Report here. I know you said that you have a couple projects that you want to talk about here briefly. So before you do that, I'm gonna talk about my one story that I mentioned, Stranger Things related. So very topical here. I believe it was 2 days ago. Internet kind of lit up a little bit with some rumors, potential leak from a pretty consistently reputable source, Daniel RPK, known leaker, in the nerdverse, constantly kind of puts out rumors and things that usually are corroborated. And recently, as we all know, Sadie Sink has been cast in Spider-Man Brand New Day. That's old news. But
we've discussed at length.
Ever since then, people have been speculating as to what character she's going to play. We've heard, is she going to be Mary Jane? Is she going to be Mayday Parker? Is she going to be
Gwen Stacy,
Jean Grey, a plethora of characters. I even saw the Chameleon at some points. Yeah, I don't know.
That might be where my theory hat lies, but please continue.
So any of those could still be true, and any of those could also not be true. But Daniel RPK has put out there that supposedly, from reputable sources, Sadie Sink will be playing Rachel Summers in Spider-Man Brand New Day. For the uninitiated,
daughter of Scott Summers and Jean Grey, correct? Yeah. She's the daughter of Scott Summers and Jean Grey. Yeah.
Yes. Major, psychic powers. She's kind of like the messiah to the mutants and mutant kind. We don't have time to get into the extended lore.
We simply do not.
Rachel Summers. But basically, needless to say, if this is true, this has some pretty crazy implications on what it could mean for the mutants coming into the MCU and just the multiversal connectivity of everything. She's a massively important character.
Can I be completely honest with you?
Yeah.
I, at this point, am kind of just completely out on the Sadie Sink fan castings and the rumors of who she's going to be playing. At this point, I don't care. We've heard a dozen different rumors at this point. Mm-hmm. And I don't think she's going to play Rachel Summers. I don't think that's the end game here. But if it is, I think it speaks to a potential trend, potential theme for Doomsday, which seems to be focusing on parenthood. With the Steve Rogers trailer that we got, the teaser announcing him returning with a baby, the rumors that this version of Doom is going to be Tony Stark, who lost his daughter, and what happens from there. The rumored Thor teaser that may or may not be coming out in theaters as a trailer before movies between now and when this episode releases. But the theme there is him trying to find his way by raising his new daughter, Love. So, I mean, it's an interesting potential character for her to play, and kind of speaks to that parenthood idea if we get, because we know James Marsden is coming back in Doomsday as Scott Summers, maybe a potential parenthood tie there. But honestly, at this point, I'm just waiting for like an official announcement before spending more brain power thinking about this.
Yeah, no, I mean, the rumor mill has gone wild on this. This one's just crazy because it's, again, from Daniel RPK, and, he has a long history of saying things that come true. I'll just say this much as to this news story. This excites me just because of Rachel Summers' implications and importance in the mutant Krakoa storyline, and I love that story from the comics. I love all of the things that happen along with Krakoa. So if that were the direction that we would be seeing moving forward into the mutant saga,
you're into that
would excite me.
I mean, it's another Hickman influence, which they're drawing heavily from for Doomsday and Secret Wars. So
very true.
Wouldn't be surprised.
But that's it. I just wanted to mention that fan casting that seems to have some level of credence behind it.
Yeah, I think we can move that from fan casting into rumored casting.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay, did you have any other news stories for the Oracle report?
Man, I'm sure there's a ton out there, but no, not right now.
We'll be back on the socials to update you guys on anything else that we're missing in this Oracle report, because we want to talk about Stranger Things.
Well, I'll say this much just before you move on. Spider-Man Brand New Day wrapped filming, so moving quite along. Yep.
Moving along. That movie's coming out like 7 months, so we'll be here. Speaking of movies, I've seen a few in the past week or so that...
And I'm jealous.
Have been quite enjoyable experiences. So let's see. So reverse chronological order. Maddie and I saw Marty Supreme yesterday. Last weekend, we saw in theaters Hamnet, which has been out for a while, but we finally got to go see. So Marty Supreme, I told you a little bit about this yesterday. This movie is getting some crazy like picture of the year hype, late year release. It's doing really well at the box office.
Yep.
And before I went to go see it, it was being talked about as like best movie of the year.
I'd seen that kind of going around a little bit.
Timmy gives an incredible performance. I think he does have some, he has a case to be made for actor of the year, best actor of the year at the Oscars. It was a great movie. Solidly comes in around 3 or 4 as far as my ranking list for movies of the year. It doesn't surpass Sinners or One Battle After Another for me.
Okay.
It's very much a Josh Safdie movie. If you've seen Uncut Gems or Good Time, these movies are about protagonists who have, varying degrees of toxic traits, where they're so single-minded on accomplishing a single goal, and they're willing to kind of bulldoze anybody in their way to accomplish it. And that's kind of what this movie is, where Timmy is playing Marty Mauser, who just has he's driven to become the best table tennis player in the world, and he will do whatever it takes to get to that point. A lot of fun. Would definitely recommend going to see Marty Supreme. Maybe not best movie of the year, but there have been a lot of really fantastic movies, so it's not a slight on Marty.
Can I ask you a question about this movie?
Yes.
Okay, so do you feel, and I don't mean this as a slight by any means, but do you almost feel like Timothée Chalamet has kind of hit that point in his career, where right now any project that he's in automatically gets that like buzz boost of just like, oh, like this could be a potential contender. And it's not to say that these projects aren't great, and it's not to say that Timothy Chalamet is not a fantastic actor. Both of those are true. But do you almost feel like, you know, the floor gets raised immediately when you know that it's Timothy Chalamet?
Oh, absolutely. I think Timothy Chalamet like is that actor for our generation right now. I think he can carry a movie by himself, with name value, like recognition, and just like acting jobs. Like his performance in this movie was like it was great. And all that combined with the the all-time press marketing tour that he's been on for this movie for like the past
It's been
2
crazy.
months.
It's been cool.
He has been featuring in drill rap songs about the movie. He shot a promo from the top of the Las Vegas Sphere.
I believe the first person to ever do that.
Yeah. So like he is going all out, and I respect it so much. And you can just tell like he cares about his craft and about being great. And I respect it very much that he is just like unabashedly pursuing greatness. And that
I
gets
just
me
get
excited.
nervous
Yeah.
when people hit that level.
Oh, yeah.
Just because
There's a lot of exposure there.
You're held to a certain standard, and
Absolutely.
you know, going into that movie, if you're just like, oh, like people are talking about this being the movie of the year, and you're just like, okay, well, it was a good movie, but I don't know if I'd call it movie of the year. There's automatically walking out of the theater like a small sense of disappointment, and that just sucks to have that attached to a project immediately just because of a certain actor within
a little
that picture.
bit. I think that for me though was less due to the fact that it was Timothy Chalamet, and more so due to the way people were talking about this movie going into it. There
That's
was
more
like
so
some
what I meant, yeah.
crazy hype, not because of Chalamet, but from people who have seen this movie and have been talking about it like an all-time great, which
Okay.
I don't think it's quite there, but it's a great movie. Like I think I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. So I think there is some credence to what you're saying, to where like once you develop this kind of reputation, like you have a certain standard that you have to meet. And when you talk about your projects and your work the way that Timmy does. But I mean, to me, he's backing it up. So I want him to continue doing what he's doing. And, you know, it's like full steam ahead for Dune 3 now.
Heard, Chef.
Just really quick, I have to just spend a couple minutes talking about Hamnet, which was the story of William Shakespeare and his wife, Agnes Hathaway, and their family that they raised together, and the loss of their son, Hamnet. And it's an adaptation of a book that imagines that Shakespeare was inspired to write Hamlet through the death of his son Hamnet. And I mean, this is directed by Chloe Zhao, who director of Eternals, I think an underrated Marvel movie.
Absolutely.
This is a beautiful, beautiful film. It was like, just, I mean, the way it's shot, it's like so naturalistic. Like Agnes is described as like the daughter of a witch from the woods. And so she's like super in touch with the earth and nature. And Paul Mescal as Shakespeare and Jessie Buckley as Agnes, like all-star performances. This is what Paul Mescal does so well, is like these understated, like pensive type roles, as opposed to the Gladiator 2, where he's playing like the action star, and it just wasn't quite right. This is his wheelhouse. And the kid who plays Hamnet, unbelievable. The first half of this movie was like, I quite enjoyed it. It was like just kind of like a thoughtful, soft type exploration of like parenthood and, you know, growing up in like the 1600s, where like healthcare wasn't what it is now, and like the realities of that. And
was there healthcare in the 1600s?
It depends on how you define healthcare. If we're talking about midwives and leeches and bloodletting, then yes, there was healthcare.
Fair.
But the second half of this movie, like the last 40 minutes or so, God tier. Just incredible movie making, and just like a mission statement for how you can process your grief in different ways, including through creating art, and how when you process your grief through art, it allows other people to process their grief through your creation too. So yeah, I mean, Hamnet, really, really good movie. I think this slotted in right behind Marty Supreme for me. So I think Marty is at 4, Hamnet's at 5.
Does what does that put at 3? Is 3 Superman for you?
No, dude. Wake Up Dead Man. I loved Wake Up Dead Man.
Right. I totally forgot we watched that. Yep.
I big fan
We watched
of Wake
that
Up
together.
Dead Man. Yeah, so I think my the top, let's say 8, I think it's Sinners, One Battle, Wake Up Dead Man, what did I just see? Marty Supreme, Hamnet, and then I think I have I think Long Walk is right there. And then my first comic book movie is Superman at 7. So really strong year for the non-IP stuff.
Very true.
The three big, I mean, I think the top 12 movies I saw this year are all 4 stars and above. So good year for movies.
And next year might even be better.
I hope it is.
Let's see. What else you got? You got anything else for the Oracle report?
That's all I got. I'm ready to start talking about Stranger Things.
Okay. So closing out the Oracle report here, moving on into our Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 2 review, we are bringing back the original format of how we review things on this show. If you've been with us for a while, you are already accustomed to our plot production performance method, where we kind of break down projects into those 3 categories to review them. We talk about the plot, including, the story and the characters, the production, just the production value of the project, how it looks, how it sounds, how it feels. And then the performances, obviously, how the actors and actresses portray those characters. And we kind of get a little bit into the writing of the characters in that category as well, even though we know that's not really much to do with the performance. It just kind of blends in naturally in that section. So that's kind of how we like to break down projects on Between Two Batcaves every now and then. We usually apply it to movies, but we're going to be doing it to Stranger Things Season 5, Volume 2 today, because if you think about how they're splitting up Stranger Things Season 5, they're basically doing 3 movies. Volume 1, kind of like the first entry into the sequel, Volume 2, the second entry into the sequel, and then the finale will be the final entry into the Season 5 trilogy. So that's how we're going to be doing things today. So we're going to be getting into the review. Spoiler alerts for Stranger Things Season 5, Volumes 1 and 2. And probably anything before Stranger Things spoilers. I did not prepare a Batcave recap today. My bad, but that's okay. Listen, if you're listening, you know what happened. So
should we even try to do a quick pass, a 30-second Batcave recap?
Nope. No.
Okay.
No.
Stranger Things. The things were strange. They got stranger as we went.
Yeah, we're gonna cover all the important plot details here.
You're right.
In our first breakdown. So, as I said, we're gonna be breaking this down: plot, production, performance. So, let's start with plot. The heaviest category for us usually. So, I was making up some of my personal notes for our episode today, and I kind of broke down the plot points that I thought were most important per episode. So do you have any sort of organization for yourself, or did you just jot down random notes, or how did you go about this?
I was kind of all over the place with it. I kind of sat down after watching all 3 episodes. My thought process was I sat down with just everything in my mind and started jotting down what was first and foremost in my mind when I thought about this batch of episodes. And then I got a little bit more granular with it from there. And then I watched a couple of recap videos because I wanted to, come with the receipts here because I have things to say. But I like how you have it set up. If you want to go through kind of buckets of plot points. Before we do that, though, do you have any kind of overarching thoughts on this batch of episodes?
I do, actually. I was going to bring this up at the end, but I'll bring it up now. This batch of episodes, I think, for Volume 2, they were really good. I really enjoyed what we got here. They were very heavy on character developments and resolutions. We got some like major resolutions between certain relationships and certain characters that we needed to get before this show ended.
Yeah.
What two things that left me kind of feeling a little uneasy were, one, we spent so much time in this batch of episodes with Holly Wheeler. And don't get me wrong, I like the Holly Wheeler storyline. I really enjoy what they're doing with Holly in this season of Stranger Things. However, that's basically a brand new character.
Yes.
And she got a lot of time. Actually, I'm pretty sure I read something that said Holly Wheeler has had more screen time this season than any of our main cast members, which is just interesting to me.
Yeah.
I believe it. She basically got her own episode. Yeah. And again, I love this whole Holly the Heroic storyline. I think it's very compelling. I love the episode Escape from Camazotz. I really like all of that. But we are spending a ton of time with a brand new character when we have 4 seasons build up of our main characters that are now not getting as much time, and that concerns me a little bit going into the finale.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think I might be a little bit lower overall on this batch of episodes than you are. I think it's really bolstered by 2 or 3 like all-time
big
Stranger Things moments. Like some of my favorite moments in Stranger Things ever come in this batch of episodes. But it's kind of bolstered and buttressed by what I'm not going to use the filler word here, but it's a lot of clunky like exposition dumps and explaining what we're doing. And like you said, like we're spending so much time with Holly, and one of those 2 or 3 standout moments is because of her. So like I'm right there with you where I'm in on what's going on with her. But at a time where now you really feel it, where we're at now, where there's 2 hours left of this entire series, and I just don't know if like the coaching decision to give Holly Wheeler this much playing time at this point in the game, I don't know if I agree with it. Because like on one hand, it is a great way to kind of get back to the show's roots of like a kid at this age, like going through these experiences and playing that off of like her being able to look up to the party and where they are now and compare that to where they started. But I don't know if we necessarily needed this much of it. It's a quantity problem and not a quality problem.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying there, and you're right, because the quality of what we're getting is really, really good. It's superb. Stranger Things story beats, but it's just we are, just the nature of the fact that we're giving so much screen time and plot points to a brand new character, essentially a brand new character, is taking away from other characters, and that just has to be how it works. Unless they were to make every episode 2 hours long, which obviously they cannot do. But I don't want to harp on the whole Holly Wheeler thing for too long, because like we both said, we do enjoy the story.
Yeah.
It is just taking away from other moments.
We're going to spend some time talking about some of those specific moments, and I want to get into kind of the specific plot beats here. The last thing I'll say overall is that I am just right now really feeling the fact that there are only 2 hours left of the show, and I am a little bit worried that the finale and the conclusion that they're setting up will not be as satisfying as maybe I'm hoping it to be. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm starting to wonder. Again, I'm not scared, but I'm wondering. You mentioned that these batch of episodes, Volume 2, was very exposition dumping, heavy.
And a lot of characters explaining what they're doing and what the situation is.
Now, the bright side is that Stranger Things is actually pretty good at doing that. They have certain characters that are like Dustin is really good at doing an expo dump. Max is good at doing an expo dump. Yeah, Robin. We have characters that are actually pulling that off, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we are getting a lot of expo dump.
Yeah.
So between that and the fact that we have several major character and relationship resolutions in this batch of episodes, almost makes me feel like it almost makes it feel like we're done with those characters, and that the last 2 hours will solely be focused on like Vecna and the Upside Down and solving that
Vecna,
problem.
11,
which
Will, yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of what's left because we've already got the resolution between Nancy and Jonathan, Steve and Dustin. The relationships like that, which are a central focus for Stranger Things, almost feels like because of what we got in this batch of episodes, we're almost done talking about them, which would kind of suck because I love those relationships.
That's a really good point. All right, I want to get into the kind of the buckets that you have for the plot points so we can start talking about some of them in more depth.
So I'll just kind of start off by going into like the buckets that I created within the episodes. And then if you have like other points that fall kind of within that structure, obviously bring them up. So I kind of made 3 different categories here. I started with episode 5, Shock Jock. And I kind of narrowed it down to 3 major plot points in Shock Jock that I found most important. First, Frankensteining the demo. We get this a plan where we're gonna reanimate the Demogorgon so that Will can reconnect to the hive mind, and try to basically find Vecna, control Vecna, and kill Vecna. First of all, I gotta say, I like this plan. Pretty cool plan. And also, I love the fact that Joyce is like backing up Will. She's like, you need to do this. Like, she's finally at the point where she's trusting him and she's like, let's do this. You can do this.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think about Joyce on this show and how Stranger Things started off as like a Winona Ryder project. And she was like the main character kind of season 1. And now we're at the point where she is just kind of Will's and Jonathan's mom, which I think in some respects kind of stings because I love Winona Ryder and wish she had a little bit more to do. But in this role, I am very glad that she has now kind of gone to the other extreme where before she was overprotective. Now she's maybe not as protective as she needs to be, where she is pushing Will to take these risks and, put himself out there and try to take Vecna down. And that puts him in harm's way and exposes him to, some harm as a result. And I like that we see Joyce kind of grappling with that with Hopper later on, where she's like, I don't know, like, it feels like I can't do anything right. Like, I'm either overprotective or putting him in danger. And Hopper gets the opportunity to be like, well, that's being a parent. So the Joyce side of things, I like the role that she's playing here, where she's pushing Will instead of holding him back.
Yeah. Another bit about this this plot line here is just, you mentioned it, she's supporting, Will getting, in harm's way here and exposing him to danger and letting him, do what he thinks he needs to do. Now, yes, he's definitely, harmed from this, but not without getting his licks in. I mean,
for
Will
sure
did some it works, essentially. He's able to find Vecna. He's able to get into Vecna's mind, and he's able to snap a leg.
Save Max and Holly. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's able to control Vecna for, I'd say, more than momentarily. I mean, he has control for a minute there before Vecna pushes him out. Obviously, Vecna is still more powerful, but I mean, Will flexes in this episode, and I thought that was really, really cool.
I'm glad that Will is just like getting these kind of hero turn moments, and it's right in the nick of time to save Max and Holly right as Vecna's about to kill Max. It's just kind of picking right up where episode 4 left off with the sorcerer and allowing Will to kind of further develop his powers and have more agency within the party. And I think that's like, honestly, we're going to get a lot of Will in the finale.
And like, the moment where like he's speaking through Vecna was super cool, and
I Max thought it was 11.
Yes, thought it was L. I thought that was really fun too. That was like a fun little bit for the audience where everyone just like, no, it's Will.
It's Will.
I really enjoyed that as well. No, I think you're right. I think this is ultimately leading up to. We've talked about this previously in our volume 1 coverage, but we're gonna have Will, L, and Kali. The D20 up fighting Vecna. Um, so
I think that theory holds a lot of weight right now.
that kind of brings me into my next plot point that I wanted to talk about here. I want to talk about kind of Dr. K's true motivations are unveiled through
Yeah.
some like flashback expo with Kali. We get this reveal that Dr. K is basically trying to restart Brenner's program by
Yep.
making new superpowered children through Kali's blood, but Kali's blood is insufficient. She needs L's blood, which is why she's so obsessed with finding
Hell
L.
bent on it. Yeah.
Makes perfect sense to me, honestly. I think that this is a pretty like predictable plot line for like the military side of things, which kind of seems to have been put to the wayside a bit in this batch of episodes, which I'm kind of cool with. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as much anymore because that's not the main problem. It's still, obviously, it matters because Kali's resolution is that her and Elle essentially need to take themselves off the playing board. So it makes sense to me, but it's not really compelling in any direction. And I hate to be a downer, but I could not care less about Kali.
Okay. Thank you for saying that. I am with you. The military side of things, I just simply do not care about. Like, okay, it makes, I agree. It makes sense what Dr. K's goal is and what the military's goal is. But it feels like they are just kind of there to be another external force that the party has to reckon with. I don't care about the resolution of that really, like, at all. And
it's
I agree.
Either going to be that they take down the program or the program survives. And it's like a cliffhanger that, like this isn't over. It's going to be one of the two.
Yeah. And they're there to kind of be another like oppositional force that the team has to reckon with when they're trying to resolve the Vecna situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Kali stuff, I was worried about this when they brought her back in volume 1. But I heard a lot of smart people talking about how, they respect the fact that the Duffer Brothers are going back to, really wrap their arms around the series as a whole. But
yeah,
it depends on how they
down for sure.
that. It depends on how they execute that. And right now, like, I just am the Kali stuff specifically, but even more generally, like the Hopper 11 Kali stuff. That's where I find myself. Yeah, that's where I find myself kind of tuning out in these episodes. And that I think kind of speaks to the fact that like the 11 storyline, like over the course of this series, has kind of been one of the weaker arcs for me. As far as like what my personal investment is in each of the characters.
You got to move your face over. You keep going out of frame.
That's lower on the totem pole for me. It's the 11 stuff is lower on the totem pole of things I care about in this show, for a number of reasons. And so when they're bogging that even further down with the Kali stuff, with the Dr. K, the military stuff, it's a heavy slog for me story wise.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying. Honestly, I think it's interesting because I'm going to get into Hopper a little bit later, but Hopper says something within this batch of episodes that I thought actually resonated pretty well with, basically Elle is like fully on board with what Kali's saying, like all this stuff. And Hopper's just like, what, you've known her for like a day and a half? Like, what's happening here? Like your name is like Jane Hopper. Like he just doesn't understand like why she's like so swayed by Kali. And I mean, granted, like Kali is correct. Like she's technically known her longer. She's known her since they were children. They were raised together in Brenner's lab, and all of that is true. But also, like, it's almost like Hopper is speaking from the perspective of the audience of just like, okay, like this character has just been reintroduced after a episode in season 2. We've only had a little bit of time with you, and now suddenly you are kind of taking one of our major players, one of our most important players, and shifting her dynamic with everybody else and shifting her role. And that doesn't bode well, I think, with a lot of fans.
Yeah. I mean, there's still time for them to turn it around in the finale, but where it stands right now, it's one of the weaker links for me, for sure.
It is. But moving on from the Collie stuff, last thing I had in this episode, plot point wise, was just, the experimental matter. We got to talk about, this big reveal.
Let's talk about the upside down Vecna lore. Let's get into it.
Let's get into that. So this is kind of going to span over the 3 episodes, but so this starts with the reveal that basically in the upside down, on top of Hawkins' lab, there's this force field. Basically, Dustin has this idea that it's like a shield generator, and if you were to destroy the shield generator, it would break down the walls, and we would be able to get to Holly and rescue her. Turns out
some nice Star Wars content. Shout out, yeah,
very much so. Turns out that was incorrect, and what is on top of Hawkins' lab is called experimental matter. Let's start there. Couple of points about the experimental matter. First of all, just like I like it. I like the show, like, because it sometimes you forget that it's not just fantasy, but it's like fantasy sci-fi, and this is like a really good implementation of like the sci-fi elements of this show.
I might disagree. I don't know if I am all in on the upside down lore dumps that we get here with like the experimental matter or whatever it's called. And we get the reveal that the upside down is not actually like an alternate dimension on the beneath Hawkins, but it is a wormhole, a portal between Hawkins, between Earth and
a world between worlds.
What they're calling, Star Wars, but what they're calling the Abyss, which is, I think, like this alternate dimension, Dimension X, as it's referred to, I think, in the stage play. I just don't know if, first of all, like the reveal that it's a wormhole. Okay, why does that matter? They don't. I mean, I think there are the things that we can read into it and pull in from the stage play that can give it significance, but just treating the episode at face value, I don't know if that reveal hits like they thought or hoped it would for us as an audience.
That's fair.
I also just like in this like final stretch of this show, like, yes, I want answers about the upside down. I want answers about the mind flare. Like, I want that, but that is not at the top of the list of things that I need this finale to deliver on. And all I'm saying is like the reveal that this is a wormhole, it needs to lead somewhere that ties into like the series as a whole and like why we care about the characters and everything that they've been through over these 5 seasons for that to hit home for me.
I see what you're saying, and I won't disagree with any of that. I will say though, like, I do think the reveal hit better for me than it did for you. I think just like, we've spent 5.5 seasons, basically believing that, the upside down is kind of like this alternate dimension that exists underneath of Hawkins, on the other side of Hawkins. And basically to get the reveal that like what we've believed all along actually isn't true. It's the space in between the 2 worlds, I thought was an interesting way to kind of pull the rug out from underneath us and just be like, hey, everything that you thought you knew isn't totally accurate. I'm not saying that it's inaccurate, but it's not totally accurate.
There's more going on than we realized. Yeah.
Which also like explains kind of like throughout the series, like, why when people would go into the upside down, like, why is it not littered with demogorgons? Why is it not littered with demodogs? All this type of stuff. Well, because, Vecna's having to send them from Dimension X. So there's like some cool little like lore explanations there. I clash with some of the like reasoning behind how this unfolded and how this was made. So basically, Dustin figures this out because he's going through this journal of Brenner's, and he realizes in the upside down from 1983, November 6, 1983, the moment that the upside down is stuck in. So basically, from my understanding, what we get is when L pushes Henry into Dimension X in 1979, I want to say it was.
Yeah.
She immediately sends him to Dimension X. There's no Upside Down yet. Then Dr. Brenner at some point realizes that, like, okay, Dimension X is a thing, and I do believe the stage play leads us to believe that he did kind of know that beforehand as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
yeah, so basically he knows of Dimension X, and he's going to try to utilize L's powers to kind of bridge the gap between those dimensions and further explore that. And so when L initially makes contact with the Demogorgon in her, like, abyss space, that I believe happens on November 6, 1983, and that is when the Upside Down is created. That's when the bridge is formed. That's also the day that Will was taken. So, is that all making sense to you?
Kind of. Kind of, yes. I like that. I like that explanation because it does give us a tie back to our characters and what we care about. Like, if L, in fact, played a significant role in creating the Upside Down, that's interesting to me. I would like to explore
I think
that
she did.
more. Yeah, that I would like to explore that more because I think there is. I mean, what we're left with Elle in these final 2 hours is she needs to decide whether or not she has whether or not she has self-worth beyond her powers.
Yeah.
And if she, like, if her nature is inherently good or inherently bad, because what Kali is telling her is that you will always be a risk, a threat to the world, basically. Like, there's always going to be forces that are trying to co-opt you, and the only good thing that you can do is take yourself off the board, like you said. But obviously, I think what we are supposed to be hoping for and what her friends are going to be, whispering into her ear and telling her is that is obviously the wrong decision. Like, whatever the resolution is, like, we're going to fight, and your life is worth living. You are not sacrificing yourself for the sake of everybody else. And so it's going to be a decision that Elle has to make as to whether or not she is worth saving for herself. And if she has to grapple with her responsibility in creating the Upside Down, having a role in that, I think that adds another layer to that internal conflict, which, like, again, it's going to be a major part of this 2-hour finale.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is the way in for this, for like the Upside Down Genesis type, that side of things to be resolved.
Okay. I got one other thing to talk about with the experimental matter side of it. A part that actually, like, literally made me laugh out loud when it happened. Both me and M laughed out loud when Nancy Wheeler saw it, and her first reaction, I'm gonna shoot it. I got it. Soapbox for a second here. Nancy Wheeler, in season 1, we get this reveal that Nancy Wheeler knows how to shoot a gun, and since then, that has been a primary element of her character.
Oh, she's hauling that shotgun. Yeah.
Nancy's gonna have it. She's gonna be the one in charge of shooting. And it came to the point where she sees this crazy extra-dimensional force field looking thing, and she thinks to herself, I'm going to shoot this thing.
Pump it full of shotgun shells.
I laughed out loud because that was ridiculous. It's also absolutely absurd.
Like, Dustin tried to radio up to them, and you could hear him through the radio, even though it was breaking up.
Yep.
Like,
oh, don't get me. I hate it. I hate it when you can hear them through the radio and they act like you can't.
Maybe go downstairs and talk to him. You were in the same building. You can wait.
Yep. Yeah. It just sees it, decides to shoot it. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I do think that this would be a good point to kind of move into the next major plot point, which involves Nancy, which is the unproposal.
Let's talk. Okay. We obviously have to talk about that. But do you want to talk about the Upside Down gang as a whole? So Nancy, Jonathan, Dustin, and Steve.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
I think the Dustin Steve scene happens chronologically before the Nancy Jonathan stuff. So
I think you're right. Yeah.
let's quickly touch on the Dustin Steve stuff, because I think we'll have more to say about the Nancy Jonathan. But obviously, so Dustin and Steve, they finally kind of their conflict with each other kind of comes to a head. Steve is being like honestly really nasty to Dustin about his grief over Eddie, and they end up fighting. Like Dustin and Steve end up fist fighting. Dustin is like,
hence why the radio broke.
exactly, that led to that whole situation. Like Dustin is throwing things at Steve. Like, it is a very emotionally charged fight that comes to a head. And obviously, like, they had been building to this the entire season with the tension between the two of them. And like you said earlier on, this is like one of those big character dynamic resolutions that we get in this batch of episodes. So I want to know, like, did this moment between Dustin and Steve, did it work for you?
The reconciliation moment.
Where everything comes to a head, they fight and ultimately reconcile.
It did. The reconciliation worked for me just because, I mean, I think this is probably my favorite relationship in the show, the Dustin Steve relationship. And I mean, you know, to get this I think it kind of sucks because I think it got played out a little bit longer than it should have in this season so far. But to get this moment where, you know, Dustin, you know, Steve is trying to be the hero. He's trying to climb up the stairs, and Dustin is just like, no, like, don't do this. I can't do this again. I can't lose you, not you. Like, I cannot lose you. And, you know, he's bawling in Steve's arms. And as that's happening, you see the ladder fall. And Steve was like, oh my gosh, like, I was like, he was right. Like, he just saved my life. And like, we get this reveal of just like, I missed my best friend, you know?
Yeah.
And that got me, you know?
Yes. I mean,
that part really worked for me.
The performances that we get from Gayton and from Joe Keery, I thought were really great. Some of the best stuff they've done this season. I think Gayton's been awesome the entire season.
Definitely.
I do quibble a little bit with like how their dynamic was set up this season. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that Steve would be this nasty to Dustin about the Eddie situation, and it feels a little bit contrived to get them to this point. But that being said, like, again, what the actors are putting on screen and the ultimate resolution of it, and that moment where like Dustin basically like comes clean to Steve and is just like, I am just scared. Like, I can't lose you. And that he saves his life by doing that. Like that. Yeah, that gets to me, even though I have issues with like the logic of it and like whether it makes sense for the characters to be acting the way they are. It still worked.
I'll push back just to touch on that, just to say that, you know, I think we get Steve basically alludes to, without saying, the fact that like his nastiness, his attitude towards Dustin, it's from a place of envy and jealousy.
Oh yeah,
because
but even still, like, that feels immature for Steve from what we've seen.
You're right. With how developed his character has become over the last 4 seasons, it feels very much so more season 1 Steve than it does like season 3 Steve. That's a good point.
Yeah. But again, like when we get that moment where they reconcile and we get like our favorite character dynamic back where it feels right, like that feels good.
Felt good. That felt good.
It felt right.
You want to move on to the next pair?
We gotta talk about like what I think is the best scene of the season and is like an all-time Stranger Things scene.
Yeah. This is gonna go down, the unproposal scene.
Yep. So just to lay the scene a little bit, Nancy and Jonathan are separated from Dustin and Steve. Are they in like the upside down version of Hawkins' lab? I think that's where they are, because Dustin has Brenner's journal. So they're in the lab. They get separated and they're stuck in this room, and it's like almost kind of like a Titanic thing where the room is filling up with this nondescript goop. And they're experimental goop. I had a lot of fun with that goop. But they're locked in there together, and you know, they don't know if they're going to live or die, and they have the heart-to-heart conversation that they have, quite frankly, been needing to have since the beginning of season 4. And they both just start like coming clean to each other. Like Jonathan comes clean about never really applying to college. Nancy comes clean about knowing. Nancy comes clean about hating the fact that Jonathan smokes weed, and Jonathan hates that Nancy drinks, and especially when they both do it together. And they're just finally saying all the things that they haven't said to each other since the beginning of season 4. And they're having a very frank conversation about their trauma bond and how they make each other feel safe. Yeah. They make each other feel safe, but also like smothered and suffocated by it, because I mean, they're just each of them is a constant reminder of the other's trauma to them. And I think they stayed together out of a sense of obligation to each other and to their families. Mm-hmm. But they have the conversation that they aren't meant for each other, and they loved each other and they love each other, but it's just not right. And what I was so afraid would happen this season with Jonathan getting the wedding ring does not happen. He unproposes to Nancy, and they have just like genuinely one of the most like beautiful, moving breakup scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole like unproposal thing was like, it was cute, you know, and it like worked really well. It was like funny and heartfelt. And what you said there, you know, just, yeah, the idea that, you know, they do love each other. Like, that's undeniable that they love each other. And Jonathan says that, like, you know, they're tied to one another because of everything that they've been through. But just because those two things are true does not mean that they belong together. You know, those two things can be independent. And I think that they both have this like beautiful moment with one another of finally being able to say that. And it hit so hard. And it was like one of those breakup scenes that, you know, it wasn't sad. It was freeing. You could tell like it was freeing for our characters, because they have left it in a spot now where it's like, okay, we love each other, where we will be there for each other. We will continue to do so, but we are not meant for one another. And that's an important conversation for them to have. And I'm really glad that that's the route that they took here.
Did you think either or both of them were going to die in that room?
You know what? I have stopped trying to place bets on if anybody's going to die in this show, because I thought it would have happened
honestly
already.
Wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if nobody dies.
I'm starting to believe that. But yeah, so, you know, you get this big reconciliation between the two of them, and then, you know, Jonathan throws the ring into the goop, and lo and behold, experimental matter, can't predict it because it's experimental, and now the goop has solidified and they are saved. So great way to keep our characters on the board for the finale and have them, you know, come to ends here, come to terms with one another. Yeah, like you said, one of the all-time great scenes in Stranger Things.
Yeah, I want to like the highlight of the moment of that scene for me was when Jonathan was like asking her basically like, is there somebody else? Like obviously thinking about like Steve that. And Nancy, like, she's like, Steve is great. Like, yes, he has better hair than you, but no, this isn't about Steve. Like, he knows what he wants.
Inappropriate. Not the time to bring up the fact that Jonathan has better hair or Steve has better hair.
Unwarranted, but understood. But yeah, I mean, it's like Nancy's like, yeah, he's great. He knows exactly what he wants, but I don't. This isn't about him. Yeah. This is about me and about us. Now, I do think that ultimately Steve and Nancy end up together. I think that they deserve that. I think they have earned that. But this scene wasn't about that, which I appreciate. And just like to wrap up this scene with a bow, I think it exemplifies what Stranger Things is at its best, which is like the intersection between like what started as like childhood and as like childhood, adolescence, like growing up, the everyday relationship stuff, like growing up, finding your place in the world, and how that clashes with like the supernatural horror side of things. And I think this is the perfect encapsulation of that, where we have two characters who have been through so much, just like unimaginable trauma and horror, and they're grappling with that while also like trying to figure themselves out as people separate from that trauma. Mm-hmm. And it's impossible to separate those things. And I just like that conversation between them, I think exemplified what this show does so well. And so I mean, we can hand out awards later, but this is definitely like as far as bat signal spotlight scenes go, this is my bat signal spotlight scene. Incredible performance from Natalia Dyer and Charlie Heaton, and I think this happened. Was this the fifth? No, this was the sixth episode. I think
Sixth episode. Yeah.
I think the highlight of that sixth episode.
You want to take a minute to just kind of talk about some Holly Wheeler stuff?
All right, let's talk about Holly and the escape from Camazotz. Yeah,
Let's do it.
Okay.
I mean, there's like a lot that happens here, but also like not that many points to talk about. I think.
Yeah.
Just kind of like the reveal, obviously, that the cave is a traumatic memory for Henry. I thought that, this whole adventure that Holly and Max go on to find, M marks the spot, was interesting. I find it interesting that the entirety of the 2 years, I think it was, or I forget how long they say it's been, but since Max has been in her coma, and she said that she's explored that desert for miles and everything, that
Yeah.
I don't know, it kind of feels like she gave up after a certain point. And Holly comes and solves it pretty immediately. I mean, granted, she had the tool to do so, but
It felt
still,
very Rise of Skywalker Wayfinder coded.
Yeah, I get that. I
Which,
get
not a compliment, unfortunately.
that. And so that was all kind of expected, that, I guess. Now, I will say, the reveal that Holly is and the other kids are, they're not in the Upside Down, and they're in the Abyss, I thought was interesting. I didn't really expect that. But it's kind of memed right now, the fact that Max and Holly basically get to Vecna's Mind Palace and have the chance to escape, and we go through this entire series of events with Max and Holly, and then at the end, Max is just like, "Okay, you can't come with me," and it's just like, "Dang, Max,
You
like,
couldn't have
what?
told me that before we were in the Mind Palace death dungeon. Like that couldn't have been a conversation we had in the cave.
That's tough. That's tough look for
bad
Max.
look for Max. Yeah, not her best moment.
Yeah, for a brief second. So, we get throughout the episodes, Vecna Henry is basically saying how he keeps calling Max the monster. And obviously, that's not true, because, Henry is the monster here. But when that happened, for a brief second, I was like, hold
is
on.
Max the monster?
Are they doing a bait and switch? Is Max the bad person here?
It's like Alien Earth finale where the kids are the monsters.
Yeah.
No, that was a bad look. And also supremely frustrating how lackadaisical Max was in running up that hill to come back. To return.
I think
to
that's
her
the
body.
most memed thing about the show at the moment.
Real casual stuff there. That being said, Max's stupidity, whatever you want to call it there, did allow for what I thought was another one of the highlight standout moments, scenes of this batch of episodes. And that is the conversation between Max and Holly that happens after Max drops the truth that you got to find your own way, and you got to find your anchor to find your way back home. And you get the stuff from Holly where she's like, I don't have a boyfriend, I don't have a Lucas, I don't know, I don't have a Kate Bush. And Max is like, well, you don't need any of those things. All you need is something that you care about, something that matters to you, that is constant. And then that, obviously we get the heroic D&D piece that Mike gave Holly. And as a big brother of a little sister, this scene, this is where I started openly weeping in this batch of episodes, when Holly is talking about Holly the heroic and talking about her big brother, and that being her way back into her body was that that got me. Despite all of the stupidity of Max in that scene, it felt like it was a moment that was contrived to get to that conversation. And quite frankly, at least on a first watch, I don't care. On a second watch, I might go back and have more issues with it. But man, that got me. I was a wreck.
I agree. I thought that was a very powerful scene. I thought that we were leading up to the fact that Karen was going to be her anchor, because as this was all unfolding, we were in the basement of the hospital, and
Karen kind of goes diehard on those demodogs.
yeah, like we're in the basement of the hospital, and Karen wakes up. No mention of Ted. No mention of Ted. But Karen wakes up. And
shout out Mrs. Wheeler.
Yeah, Mrs. Wheeler makes her comeback. And as this is all unfolding in Vecna's Mind Palace, Karen Wheeler is also down there. And I thought that like it was going to be like a mother-daughter moment. But I mean, honestly, either way, I think was fine. I'm glad with what we got. But it just was funny that Karen made her reappearance in this sequence of events.
Yes.
But she was not useless, because she did blow up the demodogs.
She absolutely did. And I just have to say very briefly, I was frustrated with how that hospital scene kind of played out with the demodogs, because it was very Jurassic Park Velociraptor scene coded in that like you get Lucas who's holding Max and bumping Kate Bush out of the boombox, and who else is there? You get Robin and Vicky, and I think there's one other person there with them, but you get them hiding in this like the lab, and you have like 3 or 4 demodogs who have chased them down, and the music is playing, and the kids are talking like at a relatively normal volume, but the demodogs are just kind of like sniffing around, taking their time, like just so we could like give that extra moment from Mrs. Wheeler to set up her trap, and it just. Really cool moment, but like the logic of the scene and like just another moment where things kind of felt contrived to get to a certain point. It didn't make sense that the demodogs would not have found them the way the scene was kind of blocked out. They could have done that in a more effective way, and that being like the two-hander of the demodogs hunting them down and Max coming back into her body, like. That like Max returning to like this plane of existence, I think was like one of the most anticipated, hyped kind of moments of this season. And I don't know if it really fully delivered because of how little it actually made sense. That being said, Mrs. Wheeler blowing up some demodogs, it's some cool stuff. And I like that she just kind of gets like another one of those like mom super strength moments, Like she pulls herself out of the hospital bed because she overhears the kids like on the hospital PA knowing they're in trouble, and she just like finds that extra ounce of strength to save them. And even though it doesn't quite make sense logically, that's another one of those just like Stranger Things get you in the feel moments.
What do you mean by like the Max reawakening didn't make sense? Well,
her reawakening made sense. It was just the fact that like the tension of that scene was the fact that like the demodogs were hunting them down.
Okay.
And like the tension of like Max making it back into her body safely, I think was kind of undercut, one, by how casual she was about walking back through the Mind Palace, and 2, how dumb the demodogs were portrayed in this scene.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Her coming back into her body made sense, but I think it could have been a more dramatic moment if the circumstances surrounding it were like more logically consistent.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So Max is back, and Holly continues to be, again, we already talked about in the beginning, getting a lot of time, but good quality time, and she continues to be Holly the heroic and finding her way back into the Upside Down. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because she is taken back by Vecna, which kind of I think takes us into a couple moments that we should kind of rapid fire here before we wrap up. Let's talk about before we do that, quick shout out to Mr. Clark coming back into the fold of things.
Love getting him back. Love getting him back. And I'm so glad that was Erica bringing him in.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to have. First, the introduction scene. We have him and Erica and Murray. The Snookums scene was good. Good
Knocking
Murray
on his
stuff.
door, Mr. Clark telling his fine honey to go back to bed.
Yep. That was all good stuff.
This is very inappropriate.
And then to get just watching Mr. Clark get to play in this supernatural sci-fi world that
I like
he
how
loves.
I like how he was skeptical and not going to get pulled in until Erica said Dustin is in danger. And when she said that,
yeah.
Mr. Clark locked in, and I appreciate that.
And then watching him kind of go through the scene where they're trying to infiltrate Hawkins' lab to get to the gate, and he's devising this plan to block the signal to the cameras, and Hopper's like,
yes,
I think you're overthinking this, and then he just watches Elle use her powers, and he's just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
I have joined into something that I do not understand.
Yeah, but he loves it. So I'm glad to get him back here. I want to take a moment here to talk about Steve's plan at the end to get everybody up to where episode 7 we're making the plan to get to Dimension X or the Abyss to save the kids and take down Vecna. Basically, a couple plans are spit out, but the one that we come to terms with is Steve's plan, which is essentially let the incursion event, because that's what this is, occur all the way until they can reach the Abyss from the radio tower, which is not that tall. So his plan is to wait until the very last second to send Elle and Kali and now Will up there to take down Vecna and save the kids. Seems irresponsible to me, but if that's what we're going with, okay.
Yeah, that's where we're at with the Stranger Things mission operation plans. Just at a certain point, I don't understand exactly what is going on, but I don't really care, and I don't think it matters.
It's just we have three superpowered beings.
Yeah.
And Murray definitely has access to a plane or a helicopter or something. Murray's a resourceful guy. I don't know if we need to wait until the Abyss is at the top of the radio tower, which is pretty dang close to the surface of the planet. But I don't want to harp on that. It was fun to watch Steve get his big brain moment, though.
He's coming back around in the later half of the season here. He's come to terms with Dustin, and now he's the planning guy, which I don't know.
Well, with the help from Dustin, naturally.
Exactly.
But I think the last moment we need to talk about is the big moment of this batch of episodes, Will's coming out scene.
Yeah, we got to talk about it. You wanna lead here?
Sure. Yeah, so obviously, this has been something that's been kind of hyped up and speculated for a while, and a big payoff for a lot of watchers. I like what we get here. I think that it is great that we have finally had that reconciliation with Will, and I like that, this was kind of set up as his last thing that he needed to get off his chest before he can go do what he needs to do in order to save the day. I like how the scene was set up. I like how it was, initially with Joyce, and he's like, Mom, I need to tell you something. I need to, Vecna showed me something, and I need to tell you this. And I love that part. I love the fact that Vecna showed Will, basically unveiling his deepest, darkest secret to his loved ones, and them kind of rejecting him for it, and him isolating himself because of that. And not rejecting him. You're right. They treated him differently, and he isolates himself because of that, and he loses the people that he loves. I really like the way that they implemented that as a catalyst. When he initially starts the conversation with his mom, and then he's like, you know what? No, wait, everybody needs to know this. And then we then we get the scene where he's now telling everybody, and it's not just the party. It's It is
The entire
Mr. Clark.
cast.
It's
Right?
it's Murray. It's Erica. It's Vicky. Like it's people were in that room during that scene that I'm not saying it's not important that like if Will wants to tell everybody by all means because this is now the party, but
Yeah.
I wish that we had gotten the moment where it was Will and his mom and the party. You know, we had Elle and
Yeah.
Dustin and Lucas and
Mike.
Mike and
Max
you know
now.
maybe like Max. But it's just the way that the scene was shot was, you know, ultimately those are the only people that mattered because as the scene was ending, you know, those are the people that engulfed him in their love.
That's a good
And
point.
so
Yeah.
I almost just feel like there was like some extras in this scene that didn't need to be there, but that's like so like nitpicky that it doesn't matter. I just kind of feel like this was like a moment that for Will and for audience members would have been more impactful if it was just, you know, Will
A little bit
and
more of an
his
intimate
loved
scene.
ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I hadn't really considered that. I agree. I also thought this was like a really nice moving scene. Like at certain points, this season has kind of felt like they're checking boxes to, you know, get to the end.
Yeah.
And I get a little bit of that here. Like, and we talked about it leading up to this. Like, we're going to get the big Will coming out scene. We're going to get the moment where Jonathan like gives him the knowing look and like, I've always known, you'll always be my brother. I'll always support you. Like we got
and
all
we do
those
get
things.
That payoff.
Yes. And it like, I also like the fact that like what you point out is that Vecna showed him the other version of this to scare him. And
I
Will,
love that.
like, as I'm sitting here thinking about it now, that actually, I think, really enhances the scene in retrospect in that it was Will, like, taking agency over this and, like, defying the truth that Vecna was showing him.
Yep.
And when we, like, tie it all back to the Upside Down and Vecna just kind of being an allegory, a metaphor for, you know, whatever it might be, like mental illness, depression, anxiety, like all these things, like, that's exactly what depression and anxiety do to you. They show you the worst possible version of the future or something like that. And it like co-ops your brain. And to have Will confront that and overcome it, I thought like, especially as I'm sitting here now talking about it, like that is very powerful. And I'm glad that they gave that scene the weight and like the room to breathe that I think it deserved. That was kind of like one of the centerpieces of the episode. And in the moment, it kind of grated against me. But again, as I'm sitting here, as we're talking about it, I have like a deeper appreciation for it.
Yeah. Another part of like the scene that I thought stood out to me in particular was just like, almost like in a way, it was like showing how Robin's like coaching and guidance and love has basically you know allowed him to like in certain ways like be braver than Robin, and that you could see that in her face because, you know, Robin has not quite hit this point in her own personal journey of like feeling comfortable enough to like tell everybody. You know, certain people know, but like because of like Robin's guidance, Will has felt comfortable enough to open up to every single person in this room, and you kind of see that in her eyes. It's just like the pride that she has, and like knowing that like she helped pave this path for Will, and like in turn, like hopefully that will give Robin
her the
more of
the
courage that she needs to do the same thing, because like now Will is kind of helping pave the way for her. I thought that was a really beautiful moment between the two and how that was shot.
That's another really good call out. Here's what I'm thinking. I think we should move. Was there anything on the plot side of things that you want to touch on here with the capper with episode 7, where we're left off going into the finale?
Not really, no. I mean, obviously, we're left with the cliffhanger. You know, Henry is putting his plan into action here. The kids are in the circle, the seance circle, and he, you know, takes them over, and you know, we're gonna start this incursion. And I don't care what it's called; it's an incursion. So, you know, not much to say about that. I will just say, Derek seems to have fallen off a little bit from the initial first 3 episodes. We haven't really gotten the heights that we got from Derek in those
I'm
3
glad you
episodes, which
mentioned
is a
him there,
disappointment.
though, because what we do get from Derek in this batch of episodes is he is assisting Max and Holly with their escape. They enlist him to distract Vecna, and we get some good. So we do get some good, delightful Derek moments through that, like with him amongst the other kids and like bantering with them. I think is really good, and I like that. It seems like he is still. I think he will still have a role to play in the finale, as far as assisting Holly and the other kids in their escape.
Yeah, and I mean it is effective. Vecna shows him, what will happen if he doesn't hop on board, and he shows them his family dead, and of course he's 9-10 years old. That would scare him. Of course he's gonna become one with the herd and do whatever Vecna says, because he's terrified of Vecna. So I mean, it all works. It's just a little. I do miss some of the Derek shine out moments from Volume 1.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, we got to talk a little bit about production and a little bit about performance, even though we've already kind of talked a little bit about performance.
Production-wise, I don't have much to say. I don't know about you. I did some research here. The budget for the show was $400 to $480 million, which
for this season of TV.
Mm-hmm. Which puts it at $50 to $60 million per episode. Thoughts, opinions? Is it paying off? How you feel about it?
Nah, I don't know. I think that's too much, and I don't really see it on the screen all the time.
Dude, you're right. Some of the special effects. I mean, some of the special effects are good, but it's not like a ton of them. I don't know how they're getting that $50 million per episode.
I had a few thoughts about the production side of things. First of all, I think Vecna is much scarier when he looks more human-like at the beginning of in season 4, basically. This Grootified version of Vecna doesn't really scare me.
So you prefer the Grinch Vecna over the Groot Vecna?
100% Grinch Vecna over Groot Vecna. I don't know. Just at this point, he is just kind of becoming more of an over-the-top monster character design, which there's just something about the humanoid factor of season 1, but with those long fingers and long limbs and all this stuff surrounding it. It was closer to being something we could recognize, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it says something that I think some of the scariest moments that we've gotten with his character so far have been through his form as Henry.
Yeah.
Specifically orderly Henry.
Yeah, where he's flashing between, I think, Mr. What's-It and the bloodied one version of himself. Yeah, when he's confronting Holly and Max. That was freaky.
Yeah, I think the character design for Vecna looks cool. Don't get me wrong, but I think some of our scariest moments with the character come through that orderly version of him.
I also think some of just the other general special effects have been weird. We talked about the goop in Upside Down Hawkins' lab. I thought that was just weird. That was I didn't know what that was supposed to be.
You're not liking the goop,
dude. I'm usually a goop kind of guy too, but
I know
it was. I don't know. It was like toothpaste. It was weird.
You're right.
I also
it was very toothpastey.
I thought Vecna's mind
Crest or Colgate.
It looked to be like a Colgate, like the red tube.
Thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I also just thought Vecna's Mind Palace looked like a big soundstage, honestly. And it's just when they're on practical sets and stuff, in the lab or at the Squawk, that stuff, I love those set designs, which makes this stuff, the soundstage stuff, a lot more jarring, I think. I don't know about you.
I guess, yeah, I didn't clash with it as much as you did. I mean, I think certain the Demogorgons in this season look awesome. They've
agreed.
Definitely
They've done
stepped
a
up the
great
demos
job with the demos. Yeah.
I think some of, like the implementation of like Will's powers and the way that they implement that, I think look better than like what we get from like Elle's powers. Some like the scene where, basically like the bridge opens up, the hole opens up, and Elle is using her powers to like guide the way for her, Hopper, and Kali. I think that kind of looked a little funky. I thought it looked a little funky. Yeah. But I mean, nothing like stands out in particular as egregious. But yeah, you're right. Like nothing stands out as like over the top, like spectacular, except for the Demogorgons. I think the Demogorgons in this season look awesome.
Like when you had in Shock Jock the Demogorgon after he was fried, with the electricity and he's like steaming, like
that was
almost kind of like feel it and smell what it would smell like after being fried on the radio tower.
Yeah. Oh man, we should see the finale in 4DX. Get that fried Demogorgon smell in the theater.
Yeah.
But that's I kind of want to talk about performances here. What about you?
The only other thing I'll say production wise is just Kate Bush is such a cheat code, like emotional manipulation at its finest. If they play that song, like I'm gonna be welling up, and they know that. They
had something with that moment in episode 4, and man, oh man, have they stuck with it. So,
all right, performances.
I have a blanket statement to make for performances, and then I have one specific one to talk about. I'll just say this for performances. The blanket statement is that everybody in the party, I think, is in the core party. I'm talking Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Will. I'm going to start with those 4. Fantastic. I'm loving everything that we are getting from those 4.
Yes.
Especially Caleb.
Yes.
I think that Lucas is by far, I think, the best character, like performance that we're getting on screen in this season. I'm really, really loving that character. But those 4, I think, are standouts. All of their performances. Also, I want to shout out like Finn Wolfhard. Like he's killing it as Mike this season. So main 4, the original party, awesome. Max, I mean Sadie Sink. We've talked about some issues that we had slightly with the character of Max, but Sadie Sink
not
is
performance,
killing it as she always does. Millie Bobby Brown as Elle. Having some slight brush up against Elle this season. And I'm trying to differentiate between the performance and the character. But actually, this is a good, I'll say also just blanket statement. We've already talked, the teens all killing it. Robin, Jonathan,
I like Vicky,
Nancy,
here.
Steve. I mean, all of them delivering great performances. The really only big issue that I'm having right now with the performances in this show come from the grouping of Hopper, Elle, and Kali.
Yeah.
And I think we're pretty much on the same page about that. So I'll start with Elle. Maybe it's just because this grouping feels awkward. I don't know, but it's just like, it feels like very flat. I think that's a good way to describe it.
100%. Yeah. I'm with you. It's the flat, like the delivery is flat. And we talked ad nauseum about how the growth and maturation of Millie Bobby Brown is like a really weird cognitive dissonance with this show. Like it just doesn't, I can't see 11 the character. I just see Millie Bobby Brown, and maybe that's my fault, maybe that's on me as a viewer, but like it takes me out of the show.
Kali, I don't have much to say. I don't like the character that much, and I think the performance is pretty like one layered as well, in tandem with Elle there. What I will say about this grouping is my least favorite performance in the show, and I hate to say this, is Hopper. David Harbour. He's my least favorite so far. And
it's so bizarre
hate that I'm saying that.
It's so like it doesn't make sense.
No, but it does not.
He just hasn't been good this season.
No,
like weird line deliveries, like character motivations, like flat.
Not much to work with.
Feels like he should have died. Feels like he should have died at the end of Volume 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the only saving grace that I think Hopper has in this batch of episodes is the scene where Elle is calling him out for being so willing to die without like giving her a warning about it. But again, that's like Elle calling Hopper out, and he's just kind of reacting to it. It's just like we talked about how like David Harbour seems like he is like playing a hybrid version of Hopper and Alexi from Thunderbolts because they were filming around the same time. And yeah, it's just weird. Like the the discourse around David Harbour in the past few months might be playing into it a little bit, but I don't think
fair.
so. Because like I feel like I'm usually able to kind of separate that stuff of like feelings about an actor from the character they're playing.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
it's
haven't
just
really thought about it too much. I see him on screen, and it's just like, why am I having such an issue with you? Like, I've loved you in like pretty much every other thing that I've seen. Like, why am I not liking you on the screen right now?
Yeah, if I had a broken battering to give out, it would be to David Harbour.
Yeah, which sucks because we love his portrayal of Red Guardian, and obviously as Harbour in previous seasons of Stranger Things. It's just, man, it feels lackluster this season.
Yeah.
So any other performance stuff that you want to talk about? I mean, I think we're in agreement. Pretty much everybody's killing it except for that kind of trio.
I just want to echo the Max Lucas stuff. Sadie Sink and Caleb McLaughlin, I think, are just delivering. All of my qualms with like the logic of Max's return are brushed to the wayside when you get Max saying to Lucas, like, all I needed was you. You were there the whole time. It was always you. Like that, the moment they share there is like one of those highlight moments of this show.
Yeah.
So absolutely echoing that. I agree. Everybody in the main party is like, I think delivering really solid performances. I wish Noah Schnapp, I wish he had more to do than the melodrama. I know that's where his character is, like, just like development arc wise in the show is like he is going through a lot. But man, he is just the notes that he's kind of like delivering on, like the melodrama, and when he's like recounting what happened with Vecna to his mom, and like even like the coming out scene a little bit, like again, it makes sense that he is where he is. I just wish there was some more opportunities for like variance in his performance so far over the course of the season. That'll come in the finale with him like fully coming into his own, and he can be a little bit more confident and kind of move forward that way. But I wish he was given a little bit more range to work with the character so far.
Totally fair. You're right. He kind of is played to one note, and he plays that note well, but he's not getting like the comedy that some of the other characters get to work with, or like the action that some of the other characters get to work with. So it would be nice to see, because I think Noah Schnapp is a good actor, and I think that what he's doing well, but it would be nice to see him be able to perform in different scenarios and with a different set of emotions behind his character. So I think we'll get more of that in the finale as he becomes the sorcerer for real.
Yeah.
All
right.
What else you got? Anything?
Do you want to give out a few spotlight awards and then just kind of really quickly position ourselves for going into this finale next week?
Sure. I'll rush, or not rush, but I'll just list them off here. I'm going to give out a Bat Signal spotlight for scene. I'm going to give it to the Nancy Jonathan scene. We've already talked about it at length, but it just stand out. It's going to stand out in the test of time for Stranger Things as one of the most powerful scenes, I believe. Character, Bat Signal spotlight character, I'm going to give it to Lucas. I've already said it. I'm loving Lucas in this season. He is on screen. Every moment that he's on screen, he's captivating and just capturing the moment, and I'm liking like everything that they're giving him to work with. Those are my two.
Those would have been my choices too. Just to kind of fill out the field. Bat Signal spotlight scene, aside from Nancy Jonathan, I think would probably be the Holly Max conversation. Despite the logical qualms I have, like I just can't deny the emotional effect that it had on me.
Yeah,
as a big brother with a little sister. And if we're going another spotlight character, I think I would probably go Dustin here.
Good one.
Specifically for, the how things come to a head with Steve, and Dustin kind of finally allowing himself to be vulnerable and admit that he is just scared.
Yeah.
I thought Gaten Matazero does a great job delivering on all those emotions.
Yeah. Good ones. Going into the finale here, we've kind of talked about already our thoughts and opinions on where we're sitting with this show, and kind of our precautions going into the season finale, and the things that we want answered, things that we're excited to see unfold. Just as we go into this, how are you feeling just like as a whole for this season? Where it kind of lies, are you overall disappointed? Are you overall, is it meeting expectations? Is it exceeding expectations? How much weight do you think this finale is going to carry?
I am feeling pretty similarly so far through season 5 as I did with season 4.
Okay.
With it holding some like insanely high highs that are surrounded by some okay stuff. I'm excited for the finale. I'm a little bit nervous for it. I think I'm ready for this show to come to a close.
Okay.
It's just, it's tough. Like 3+ years since the last season. We're now, going into 10 years on this show. That being said, like I still am like deeply invested in like this core cast of characters and seeing them through and making sure they're okay. And I'm less invested in like seeing how the lore of the Upside Down resolves, and more so just in like, where's our party going to end up? I'm really excited to watch this finale all together at your place on New Year's Eve. I think that's going to make it a much better experience, and
Probably true. Yeah.
I'm just it'll be a lot of fun, and like I like that it's basically just going to be sitting down to watch a feature length film.
A movie. Yeah. It'll be fun to do that. I'm with you. I think this finale probably does carry a lot of weight. I think Stranger Things has a history of having excellent finales, which both excites me and makes me nervous, because if they
There's a lot riding on it.
Repeating history, then great, because the finales of seasons past have been awesome. However, it does hold it to a certain standard, and we have a lot of things that we need to get resolved in this season finale. I do think that this finale and the Duffer Brothers are up to the task. I am trepidatious going into the finale that there may be a couple of unresolved issues that leave a bad taste on my tongue. But I am not going into the finale with any preconceived like opinions on whether or not this is going to hit. I'm excited to see how this unfolds. I am excited to see where we land. I'm with you. I want the questions answered about the Upside Down that need to be answered, but ultimately I'm more invested in where do our characters end up? How are we moving forward from all of this? What is the end goal here? And I hope that we get a equal amount, or not equal. I hope we get an appropriate amount of time spent answering those questions as well.
Well said, sir. Well said. Any other closing thoughts before we wrap our episode here and start gearing up for the finale?
I do not think so. No, I'm excited. The Stranger Things Volume 2. This episode's coming out on Monday the 29th, and we will be watching the finale on the 31st, 2 days later. Right. And then if everything goes according to plan, I'm sure that we'll be sitting down in my Batcave here like night of or morning after recording an episode and getting it, out so probably 2 episodes coming out this week, to be honest.
You guys are spoiled out there.
Yeah. You guys are lucky. Jordan and I like talking to each other.
And that would be Lola. She agrees.
Yep.
And she's telling me that it's time to wrap the episode, actually. So, Lola, thank you for keeping time. You guys out there, thank you for hanging out with us today on this episode of Between Two Batcaves. Hit us up on the socials. We are on all socials everywhere at Between Two Batcaves with the number 2.
Maybe it'll be right there if I do it right.
It'll be right there. Except if you're looking for us on the app formerly known as Twitter, we're over there at B2 Batcaves. Check out our video content on YouTube. We're over on TikTok. You can watch video versions of our episodes on Spotify, so check us out there. YouTube, I think, is the best way to follow along with what we're doing with these episodes and our clips that we're putting out. So go subscribe to us over there and ring that notification bell. Type in your URL. It's just youtube.com/@between2batcaves with the number 2. Leave some comments for us. If we say some dumb stuff, which, we do every once in a while, tell us it's dumb and tell us why it's dumb and tell us.
And they always do.
If we happen to say something not dumb and maybe even potentially smart or insightful.
No, that's not possible.
It's not going to happen. But if it did, if you think it did, let us know. And also, I am curious. We now have a few days in between this Volume 2 and the finale. Is anybody going to go back and rewatch anything from Stranger Things to gear up for the finale? Or are we just going to ride the high and click play on New Year's Eve? I don't know what I'm doing yet.
I know for a fact I will not be. So
yeah, we don't. We ain't got time like that.
Yeah. Shout out to, just based on what Jordan was saying there. Shout out to everybody that's been showing us love on all the socials. The YouTube page is growing. We're getting new subscribers every single day, and that's been a lot of fun to watch. So thank you guys for engaging with all of the content that we're putting out over there. And just a reminder here before you close out of the podcast app of your choice to leave a rating and a 5-star review and share the show. If you're watching us on YouTube or on Spotify, you can do all those things on Spotify. But if you're watching us on YouTube, please leave some comments, like, subscribe, ring the bell. We will be back soon with our Stranger Things Season 5 finale review coming to an end. So until then, from our Batcaves to yours, thanks for hanging with us, and we will see you next time.
See ya.